All right, well, happy Valentine's part two. We keep on going with the relationship horoscopes, and we've just finished doing a beautiful, healthy relationship of Kit Harrington and Rose Leslie. They have really nice, compatible placements. So if you want to look at an example of healthy relationships, you can go to that video and watch that. And right now, we're going to see one that is not so healthy. And it's an example of a toxic relationship of how sometimes we can have really intense chemistry with someone, but we can hurt them or they can hurt us, which is terrible. So here's what we're looking at. We're looking at the relationship of King Charles and Princess Diana. So just like we did with the healthy one, we're going to take a look at their placements and we're going to start with seeing, since they're in a romantic relationship and it's not a business relationship, right? We're just going to look at their romantic placements. And we start off by looking at the moon, which is going to tell us about their emotional needs. So, who's who? Princess Di is in the inside circle, and Prince Charles is in the outside circle. So Princess Di had her moon in Aquarius. And the nice thing about this chart is that we can also look at the houses that they're in. So we can see that her moon was in his 8th house of death and transformation, which is giving us creepy vibes from the get-go. And in Aquarius, so we can see that she was like a really, really friendly person. Like she needs friends. She needs conversation. She needs to talk all day and to have intellectual discussions in order to feel emotionally fulfilled. She also needs freedom and friendships. But she needs a best friend, a lover that's a best friend, right? That moon needs that. His moon is in the 0 degrees of Taurus in her 4th house. So here we can see that his emotional needs felt nurtured by her because they're in her 4th house. And in Taurus, we see that he needs like safety to feel like material safety to feel emotionally fulfilled. So enjoying physical pleasures, like he needs to be touched, he needs to feel hugs, he needs to be given gifts, he needs to eat with the person he loves, he needs to share his meals with the person he loves. So like if a person with a Taurus moon needs basically to be fed by their partner and needs to make sure that they're always in clean, soft, could be luxurious environments, like things that feel really comfortable to be in. And then now we're going to look at their Mercuries. Her Mercury retrograde in Cancer is in his 12th house. What does this mean? She could pick up on his thoughts and he could pick up on her thoughts because the 12th house is the house of the subconscious, of the dreams, of intuition. So if her communication was in his 12th house, we know that she spoke right to his soul. And whatever she said, he felt deep, deep, deep. Now his Mercury is in Scorpio. So he's a deep person too. This is having a Mercury in Scorpio makes you very, very smart. And it makes you have a huge attention to detail. It's a deep sign. There's going to be, and since they're both in water houses, they have deep, or they had, right? She's dead. And they had like a communication that went beyond words, that went beyond writing letters. They could hear each other's thoughts. They could talk. They probably visited each other in dreams. He might still get visits from her in dreams, right? But yeah, definitely they had that connection where you can like just think about the other person and know what they're feeling. They had that. And let's go and look for their Mars. So his Mars is in her first house. Okay, and this is what I wanted to talk about. When it, like the Mars, like sometimes we think it's like okay, if I have an ascendant in Aries and he has his Mars in Aries, that's great because we share Aries energy. No, if his Mars or her Mars is in your ascendant, that person might hurt you. Because Mars is a planet that cuts. Mars is violent. So his violence went to her first house of her personality. His warrior came out and it was right on her ascendant. Right on her ascendant in Sagittarius. So she might have been really attracted, because she's a Sagittarius, she might have been really attracted to the way he acted, right? Because he will give Sagittarian vibes because his Mars is in Sagittarius, and she's Sagittarius because her ascendant is in Sagittarius. So they had this share of adventure, right? They had adventures together, and what started off as going on in adventures probably soon enough turned into violence. He could have been violent towards her somehow. He like somehow whatever he did naturally, because his Mars is just acting naturally, would hurt her somehow. And now let's look at something else that's going on in her first house from him, is that his Jupiter is right there also in her first house. So it wasn't just Mars being mean to her, right? Because Mars is a bully, so he wasn't just bullying her, but it was also Jupiter making her large. So this might be like he made her, and he enlarged her somehow, like he would give her abundance. He made her very abundant, like the planet of abundance is in her first house, so he offered a lot of wisdom, and he was probably like a teacher to him, and she learned a lot from him, and she felt abundant next to him, and she felt great next to him. So that's why like they would be attracted to each other. Jupiter in the first house is a big deal, like that's a really good one. It's just the Mars in there kind of screwing it up. So at the same time that he was enlarging her, there was like a violence to it. All right, where's her Mars? Ooh, okay, yeah. This is I was just looking at this. Her Mars is in his second house, so she would be bringing violence to his stability, which not everybody no. So she shook his world, like his material world that he needs, and he's because he's got his emotional needs in Taurus of stability, material stability, and then her Mars came around to just like shake up that stability. And not just her Mars, but her North Node, which is her reason of incarnation, her Uranus, which is like eccentric new ideas, and her Pluto, which is death and transformation. Those are all sitting in his second house of material stability. So she came to shake things up in his world. She completely like almost like destroyed his material stability, whatever his like surroundings were, just to have for him to have to make them up again. What I want to see as well is that she has, this is her eighth house, right? And this is her eighth house of death and transformation. She has Mars, Uranus, the North Node, Pluto, and Lilith sitting in her eighth house. So this like she basically incarnated to die. Like her reason of existing, and I'm getting like goosebumps right now. Her reason of incarnation is directly tied to death, violence, and like shaking up things because of Uranus that shakes up things. So that's pretty intense to be looking at. And then we can also see when we see like synastries, right? We like to see where their Saturns are. His Saturn, which is a planet of boundaries, was on her North Node, which is the planet of incarnation, which means that he he put boundaries on her reason of living. Like it's like a no to your self-realization. It's like, no, you're not. Like you're gonna self-realize, like you're gonna complete your soul's purpose. No, right? Saturn, boundaries. No, like so he really put a stop on her. And we actually see this transit. So like if it was just like not a person, but a transit, we see that like Saturn over the North Node is something that we see in people who like this person died on this day, and it just happens to be that Saturn was over their North Node on that day. So that's not a good synastry aspect. Same thing with Mars. Mars, we also see Mars over the South Node or Mars over the ascendant, things like that we can see in death charts. So we don't want to see them in synastry charts, even if the people love each other. Like these two loved each other, they had children together, but they're not meant. Like no, he was meant to put a stop on her soul's purpose, and she was meant to disrupt his stability when they're put together, right? Like that's what's interesting about seeing the relationship charts together. Where's her Saturn? Her Saturn is in his sixth house of routines. So just asking him to do like to be very like to do stuff. It's like Saturn in the sixth house is like do your laundry, eat healthy, go for a run every morning, like all the kind of like things that you have to do. But if you're not health oriented, you don't want to do them. That's so crazy that she has all that stuff in the eighth house. Princess, and we're joking about it. It's not that funny, but we're joking about it. Princess die, like it was in her name, like that she was gonna die. It's crazy, you know, like names also match. And what else do we want to look at? Yeah, okay, so I said her, oh, also her sun and her Mercury both were in his 12th house. So he really felt attracted to her. He really felt attracted to her, but he wanted to keep her hidden, right? Because the 12th house is where you hide your stuff. Like it's stuff that's like subconscious. It's stuff that's below the surface. We don't necessarily want to tell everyone. So she might have been like something he felt someone he felt attracted to, but he wasn't proud of that attraction. He didn't want to show that attraction everywhere, but he would see her in his dreams, right? Because if her sun is in his 12th house, he's dreaming about her for sure. So that would have been a very intense attraction, right? Like dreaming about a person definitely is. His sun is in her fifth house of children and the fun and creativity. So he had this quality that made her feel expanded. So his Jupiter in the first house and his sun in her fifth house, right? Fifth house is the house of children. If you have planets in common with someone, they have planets in your fifth house, you can have children together. So he had not just his sun, he also had his Mercury and his south node. Wow, his south node. South node are the things that we leave behind. So his south node in her fifth house, and his Chiron on her fifth house. But yeah, mainly the sun and Mercury, we can tell that he would have children with her, right? She would bear his children. What's his ascendant?